enjoy the ride. So come on, let's go. Okay, if you could see here, all of this. Andy polished these out as best as he could, but you know, the rig is out in the sun all the time. The previous owners, they didn't do any maintenance or protect it on it, so it really fogged up. And also, these are halogen lights, so they're not as good as LED. So that is one of the reasons why we are upgrading to LED lighting. All right, let's get into this.
Full disclosure, I don't know about every RV's headlights, but I can tell you about these. These are held on by 3 bolts, basically. This bolt, and a small screw on the lower rear portion. So yeah, it's literally just 3 bolts that hold this headlight housing in. That and basic friction. I actually don't.
What is that?
This is part of the mounting system that Tiffin puts on here. They epoxy these pieces of aluminum box tubing.
Mm-hmm.
They epoxy them to the fiberglass shell, and then they can screw their brackets into that. Obviously, you don't want to screw through that fiberglass because the screws will be sticking out from the other side. And I'm at least moving this one, so that when we take it out, put it back, the headlight housing back in, it's not in the way. That's really all that holds the headlights now. I'll pull the connectors off.
Now this is a plug-and-play system, do you have to change those connectors out?
No, it's very much plug and play, but that one off. You have to move the headlight housing out. So. There it goes. And it's out. That one actually came out a little easier now. It's actually the headlight bulb that came straight to come out with it.
Right, a side-by-side comparison. Here's the old one. I don't know if the haze is showing up, but it is really hazy, even though Andy polished this with some really good polish, and it helped a lot. It was a lot worse. And here is the new.
Comparing these together, this is the main harness connection right here, and it's exactly this. It's the same connector, but it's in the same place. This connector is the same as this connector, but you can see the placement's completely different because this has different bulbs, and this has a projector bulb, and so anyway, they just put these in a different location. Doesn't matter, this is still the same. Obviously we connected up yesterday, worked fine. So this one has quite a few bulbs in it. Actually, there is a low beam, The high beam this is a low high beam. This one actually has two separate ones. So this is the high beam, this is the low beam. There's turn signal bulbs in this one. So if you flip it over, this is the turn signal out here. And then that down there is a parking lamp. This is the high beam unit. So these adjust it up and down, side to side. One adjusts up and down, the other one adjusts side to side. So this way, and this is the same thing for the low beam. So the nice thing is you put the housing in, and then you can adjust the headlight. Yeah, this thing's so awkward too. Actually, I think this one came out was this way. You want to take a look at it and see what you think?
I think it looks good.
Way down on the back. Oh crap. Oh no, you gotta be kidding me. Oh, son of a gun. Well, that stinks.
What happened?
Around here, it's like shaped like this. There's the mounting hole. They put the block too far out here. So the mounting hole goes into nothing, and the edge of the ear goes on top of the block, and they went right through the edge of the ear because they put the mounting block in too far, or out too far.
They meaning the manufacturer?
Yep.
So that's what they did with the old one too?
Yeah, because you can see where it's pierced through the outside of
Okay.
that ear. So really, I think the best thing to do is to get a big fender washer. The only unfortunate part is that really won't, it'll clamp it down, but it won't actually hold it up. The other option is to drive it in sideways, but that's not a very good option either. That's kind of irritating that they did that. Still think I want to get a fender washer though.
Okay.
Which means going over here to the parts department.
What did you call this department?
The parts department. Alright. I gotta figure out which one of these containers has something like what we need. Unfortunately, the parts department only comes out so far. That's what I'm talking about right there. Yep. And I'm going to go with the smaller one because I don't think the big one will fit. Alright, headlight is in. This is the fog light housing that we're replacing. I'll show you the other one when we get it out. That yellow one is for parking lights because the ring around the outside, my hands on the line, the ring around the outside acts as a daytime running light. I said parking light, a daytime running light. So that yellow wire, and in this case the RV doesn't, this one doesn't have daytime running lights, because I believe in that headlight housing, that is also a daytime running light. The ring around the projector bulb, but we're not gonna hook that one up. Anyway, so in this case on the RV, it doesn't have daytime running lights, so what the lighting guy that I got these from, when I texted him, he said that he ties into, the easiest way for him was to tie into the ignition wire that goes to the step. So when you turn the ignition on, no matter what position the step switch is in, that goes in. So you can never leave your steps out when you're driving. That's the whole idea.
Okay.
So that the ignition wire, I just had to find it yesterday. It comes down there, so you just tee off of that, come over here, and then go over there, and you have parking. You have daytime running lights. So anyway, that's the housing. I'm gonna pull off the. They put this cute little black surround on this thing just to make it look interesting. So that is the other housing. I don't know if we've said this already, but for those of you who are interested, it's kind of, these headlight housings, found out when we were doing this that the RV industry doesn't make their own headlight housings. Probably the reason behind that is because of DOT regulations and stuff. So apparently what they've been doing for years is adapting headlight housings from cars, trucks, whatever. I guess in the 80s, 90s, 2000, early 2000, real popular trucks. Trucks were real popular, GMC trucks, etc. But these headlight housings up here, just like these are, may or may not be Jeep housings. These headlight housings are from a 2000 and I think it's 11 to 14 Hyundai Elantra.
Way back there.
Yeah, I did them ahead of these things on the other side, but I only did that because they were shorter. Oops, not so much for my cheating. I was going to do the wiring out here. So we talked about this yesterday. I don't know if we got it on film or not, but I learned a long time ago. I did a lot of wiring when I was a kid, young and whatever, stereos, whatever kind of wiring you want to talk about on automotive. So I learned a long time ago, put them on, tug on them, because if they slip off like that, which this one just did, which failed, that connector failed, then it will likely fail underway and you won't know what is wrong. So what I gotta do to fix that? There we go. Okay, there's my two connectors for the fog lights. This one needs a female as well, because this is for the daytime running lights. This wire is thicker than the ones I just did. Those are a different gauge. This is a thicker gauge, so no need to bend it over. Younger, cheaper days, I used to really do everything I could to avoid wasting a connector.
There you go.
Okay. All right, so that's the wiring in there. Now,
are you able to show me what you did to tie in the daytime running lights?
you won't be able to see it. Essentially though, down here, you can point back in there where that, yeah, there's a like a junction box, actually a house junction box, but they used it for protecting the wiring. Anyway, right this side of that is where the connectors for the step motor and the lights underneath the stair and all that are at. I had to go through those different wires and find the one that was hot during ignition only. Tapped into that and then came out and around and up.
And you used what tool to make sure that it was hot?
My tester light. This thing.
Show me again. And so when you touch that onto the wire and it's hot, it lights up.
Yep. Well, you have it grounded correctly, but yeah. So as I found out yesterday, my connectors and their connectors are not compatible. because what happens is the housings are supposed to slide, these slide over each other to protect the spades here. Well, I'll show you with these. So these connectors are my females. These are the males. This is supposed to go inside that one, and obviously it does not. But these connectors, and you know, I understand Jonathan's thing. I mean, connectors are expensive, so he probably buys them in, he does electrical stuff for all RVs and all this other stuff. He probably buys them in real big bulk. But there's a difference in quality of the metal inside. These are thicker wall, and these are.
These meaning the ones that you have are thicker wall?
My connectors that I bought are different than the connectors that he used.
So now you're just taking off the connectors that were on there that aren't compatible with your connectors and putting yours on. Is that right?
Yeah, and I'm just giving myself a little bit more room to work with because the sheath covers a little too much wire for doing any amount of working with. So yeah, and there you go right there.
Oh, it pulled right off?
Yeah, because again, they're not really thick metal. So anyway.
And that one came off too? Do you think that it's because it wasn't folded over and they're too big for the wire?
Well, I do that because, yeah, these should actually have red connectors on them. Because they make these, they color code these, so red is small, it's smaller gauge wires, like these are probably 16 gauge wires. Blue is the next step up, and then yellow's after that. And so they cover a range of connectors because they'll cover, you can put multiple wires in these, in the connectors. And there's actually I believe this will tell you, these used to anyway, now. So it tells you on the back here, just so for instance, these are blue, so 16 to 14 gauge, right?
Okay.
That's the gauge of wire. That tells you what size the tab is. I didn't know this until a couple of years ago. There's multiple sizes of these tabs. Because I found out the hard way. I tried to put this size tab with a different size tab, didn't work, so I never really knew that.
And what is a tab?
That's a tab right inside there.
The little metal part
little
that's
metal
inside?
Spade. I call them spade. They call it tab, but
okay.
Spade in there. But this tells you insert wire and cripple tool, blah blah. Single wire sizes, 16 to 14 gauge stranded. And then sometimes if these aren't really big enough, you could do 2 wires, but they have to be pretty small. But it'll tell you, you know, how many wires will fit in one.
Did you already do the yellow?
Don't have to do the yellow. The yellow's fine.
Should you test it to see if it comes off?
It's factory.
Oh, okay.
So it's factory crimped.
Oh, okay.
So that's a machine that does that probably, because that was put on when these were made. So.
Okay. All right. So which one of those goes to the running light? They're color coded. Does the yellow one go to the running light?
The yellow one is the daytime running lights. Yeah. So then with this, we'll feed these through one at a time. So they fit through. Get in there. Okay. I had to move the other one this far, but yeah, I do. There we go. Don't go too tight because you want to be able to move it when you're in a position like this.
So what color goes to what color? Because they're different on the
Well, in
RV
this case,
side.
yeah, you just have to know which. You have to figure out which. You can't go color. You can't tell people that because it depends on their RV.
Okay. How do you know?
I tested them and happened to know that they use black for their ground here.
Okay.
But that isn't always the case.
So that's how you found out which one to plug it into, is that you tested the black for the ground?
Yep. I tested to see which was hot and which was ground, and you helped me by turning these switches on and off. Okay. That is all in. Probably should test it, make sure that it works.
Okay, let's do that.
Before I... Yep.
All right, we have one side in. We meaning Andy. So here's the old, kind of yellow and dull looking. And here is the new bright white. It's so cool. All right, hopefully we're not going to be driving by candlelight anymore.